I don't know about you, but sometimes I struggle with loving myself. I'm very difficult and hard on myself sometimes. I criticize myself. And sometimes I find it difficult to get back to really loving myself and tapping into self love. And it's a journey. It's been a journey over the course of my life. And I think it's because of my childhood and many things that have happened that I just don't show myself as much love as I should all the time. And so for me, I always have to make a conscious effort of getting back to loving myself and getting back to self love. And I think it's something that we just don't talk about enough. We need more love in the world, and it starts with us loving ourselves. So in this episode, I want to talk to you about how I get back to loving myself, and maybe you can use these tips for yourself. Let's talk about it. Coming up next. You're listening to the Grind and Gratitude Show. What is going on, everybody? I am Danny Stone, also known as Coach Stone, is in the building. And I'm so excited that you're here today because today I want to talk to you about how to get back to loving yourself, like getting back to self-love. Now, if this is your first time tuning in or watching the Grind and Gratitude Show, thank you so much. If you're an avid listener or watcher of the Grind and Gratitude Show, you know I got a lot of love for you. And I just want to say thank you to all of the listeners all over the world. Man, I get messages from all of you, and I just want you to know that I read every single message, even if I don't respond and reply to everyone, but I'm reading them, and I'm just hearing how you're loving the show and how so many of you are committed to tuning in and listening and sharing these episodes with your friends, your family, your kids. And so what I wanted to start doing is, before we jump into this episode and before we jump into this video, I just want to take some time to acknowledge a listener. And I want to take some time to acknowledge Love More. Love More is an amazing coach that teaches people how to love themselves more, how to put more love out into the world. She's also a friend of mine, and she is somebody who is a moderator in the Champion You community on Clubhouse. We have a regular conversation where myself and a bunch of other moderators, we just pour into people, help them level up their life and their business. And Coach Lovemore is amazing. Like, she really helps people to tap into self-love. And I think it's really fitting that, you know, she's an avid watcher of the podcast here on YouTube and an avid listener of the podcast on different podcast platforms. But it's also fitting that we're talking about love. So I just want you to make sure that you follow Love More Lifestyle Coaching on Instagram. She's amazing. She will help you tap into self-love. She'll help you to tap into forgiveness. She'll help you to kind of be grateful for who you are and what you have. And she's all about pouring more love into the world. So thank you for being an avid listener, a friend, a moderator of our Champion You community, Love More. I really, really appreciate you. Now, because this episode is all about getting back to self-love, I'm just going to be like completely honest and transparent. Like, one of the things that I've struggled with over the years is really self-love. And maybe it's from, you know, some of the things that have happened in my childhood with my father not being around and, you know, dealing with people who have been abusive in my life. You know, I've had people in my life who've been verbally abusive, physically abusive in my life, and you know, it really beat up my self-esteem. It took me a long time to realize that I had this inner champion, and it's something that I really struggled with. Even though I've had different successes in my life, I've written a couple of books, I'm a paid speaker, I have my own business, you know, all of these amazing things. I've traveled to lots of countries, and there's still something deep down inside of me that it's a battle for me to love myself. It's a battle for me to acknowledge, you know, the amazing things that I've done in my life and how I'm serving people and helping people. And so it's like this roller coaster. Sometimes I'm in it, and sometimes I validate and appreciate myself, and I love myself, and I like myself. And then there's sometimes I don't. Now, I don't know if you can relate to that or not, but if you can relate to that, we have to get back to loving ourselves. We have to get back to being compassionate with ourselves. And I think it was episode 52 of the Grind and Gratitude Show podcast that I think that episode that I did was called Get Back to Love. And it was a really powerful episode. So many people hit me up about that. And we're now on episode, I think 145 or 146. So that was a long time ago. And so I thought, you know what? Now is the time for us to get back to loving ourselves again. Now is the time to tap into self-love again. And so I just wanted to kind of share a little bit about what I do to get back into loving myself and how I try to stay in that as much as I can, even in my difficult times. So I want to share maybe 5 tips with you that are going to help you maybe get back into self-love or help you to get back into tapping into loving yourself more. How's that sound? We good? I hope so, because that's what I had planned for this episode. So the first thing that I do to kind of tap into self-love is like when I go down this road of either not feeling worthy or not feeling like I'm doing enough or being hard on myself, I have to remember to, first of all, the first thing that I do is to give myself some grace and give myself some compassion. It sounds pretty straightforward, but like sometimes when we're not where we want to be, or we have a setback or a failure or a mistake, we're very hard on ourselves. And we have to remember to give ourselves some grace, to be compassionate and gentle with ourselves. Like it's okay to acknowledge that you're doing the best that you can right now. And sometimes the best that you can is all that you can do at this particular time. And so for me, I have to get back into just saying, you know what, Danny, you're doing the best that you can. Give yourself some grace. You'll get through this difficult time. You have to remember that you're not perfect. You make mistakes. Everybody has failures, but just keep moving. I have to give myself that talk, to give myself the grace and the compassion so that I can open the door to loving myself again, to loving myself more. And so maybe you need to do that. Maybe you're very hard on yourself. Maybe you don't give yourself credit for the things that you've achieved and how far you've come in your life. But you have to start with being compassionate with yourself, to give yourself grace, to be gentle with yourself. Now, I'm not saying that you do this all the time so that you give yourself an out and you don't have to take action on the things that you know are going to change your life. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that there's times in your life that you have to just be compassionate, to acknowledge that you're doing the best that you can. You're being the best parent that you can right now. You're being the best partner that you can right now. You're being the best child that you can, the best friend that you can be, the best coworker, the best entrepreneur. You're doing your best. And that's okay. It's not to say that you're not going to get better, but sometimes we have to just slow down and be compassionate and give ourselves some grace. So that's the first thing that I do when I'm out of sync with loving myself. The second thing that I do is start exercising and taking care of myself physically. See, when I'm not feeling good about myself and I'm feeling down or I'm feeling sluggish, one of the best things that I can do is to get active. Getting active, getting moving is a way to increase your energy, increase your vibration, and you feel good after you've worked out or after you've exercised. And so for me, sitting still and being sorry for myself or not giving myself credit, when I'm just sitting here and I'm not getting out into the world, I'm not getting fresh air, I'm not exercising, it really affects my mental health. So one of the things that I do is exercise. There's so many benefits of exercising, but when it comes to increasing your mental health and increasing your spirituality and making you feel good and energized, that's what you need as a starting point to get back to loving yourself and to tap into self-love. And then once you know that you've got out in some fresh air, or you've exercised or you've trained at the gym, don't you feel good about yourself? You feel like you've accomplished something, and you can give yourself credit for that accomplishment. And so for me, exercising is a part of my life. It's something that I do on the regular basis. And it really helps me to tap into my energy, tap into who I am, to get back to feeling good about myself. And so maybe that's what you need to do. Maybe you need to exercise regularly and to feel that energy and feel that sense of accomplishment and tap into like loving yourself because you're taking care of your body. So that's tip number 2. The third thing that I do to really tap into my self-love is gratitude. I wake up in gratitude every day. It's difficult to be ungrateful and grateful at the same time. It's difficult to be sad and be grateful and thoughtful at the same time. So every morning I wake up, the very first thing that I do is I thank God and I show gratitude. I think of all the things that I'm grateful for and I list them off. Sometimes I write them down. Sometimes they're just in my head. But I go through this gratitude list and I list everything. I'm grateful for waking up. I'm grateful that I have clothes, a bed to sleep in, food to eat, a house, a wife, family, all of these things. And I just go through this list. And it's a constant reminder to me that there are things that I should value. There are things that I should be thankful and grateful for. And there's reasons that I should love my life. And there's reasons I should love myself. So I wake up every single morning. That is a part of my morning ritual, not my morning routine, my morning ritual. I've mentioned the difference between this before. Your morning routine are the things that you have to do. Your morning ritual are the things that you want to do that bring you peace, calm, a clear mind. And so I have a morning ritual and it consists of the very first thing is gratitude. So I practice gratitude, not just in the morning, but throughout the day. I constantly remind myself of, wow, I'm so thankful to be alive. Or I'm so thankful that, I don't have any health ailments or disabilities that are holding me back or that are hindering the way that I move in the world. I'm so thankful that I live in a country that I have health care. I'm just thankful for all of these things. And I constantly remind myself of these things throughout the day. So being grateful will help you to tap into loving yourself more. And maybe you're not doing it enough. Maybe you need to tap into being grateful more. I know there's times that I have to, and I have to make a conscious effort of being grateful, even if things aren't going the way that I expect them to go. The fourth tip is doing the activities and doing the things that bring you more joy. What brings you joy? Is it playing with your kids? Is it spending time with your spouse or your loved one? Is it reading? Is it eating a great meal? Is it traveling? Is it listening to music? Is it going to a festival? Is it going to a concert, a comedy show? Is it just having a nice long bath? What brings you joy? Think of the things that bring you joy in your life. And the goal is to try to do those things as much as you possibly can. Because when you're when you're tapping into your joy, you're appreciating yourself, you're validating yourself, and you're loving yourself. And so doing the things that bring you joy is a way for you to express your love for yourself. Whether it's taking that long bath, whether it's, spending time playing with your kids, whether it's taking a hike, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's reading a book, the things that bring you joy, you have to try to do those more and more and more so you can remind yourself of that you love yourself. And it's not always easy to do. There's always so many things to be done. But I think every day you should do something that brings you joy, no matter how small it is. Do something every day that brings you more joy. And in bringing yourself more joy, you're going to show yourself that you love yourself. You're going to demonstrate self-love. And the fifth and final tip is if you're not loving yourself and you're having a difficult time, and maybe you're feeling depressed and you can't seem to come out of it, then maybe you have to talk to somebody. And maybe you might even need professional help. And look, I'm the first to tell you, look, there is no problem with getting professional help. If you find yourself in a downward spiral and you're depressed and you can't seem to come out of it, or, if you even have suicidal thoughts, God forbid, I really think that it's time for you to get professional help. Call a hotline, reach out to a friend, a family member. But if you're really finding it difficult of loving yourself and you're in this really negative downward spiral that you can't get out of, and you're in a really dark place, then maybe you need to get professional help. And there's no shame in that. It takes a lot of strength and courage to ask for help. And this is coming from somebody who's never really been good at asking for help. But I realize that there are times in our lives where we need to ask for help. And in asking for help, we're actually opening the door to letting ourselves know that we still love ourselves. So don't be that person who suffers in silence. Don't be that person who is depressed and nobody knows. Reach out to somebody for help if you need to. So these are the 5 things that I do to get back to loving myself, to tap into my self-love. And hopefully this was helpful for you. I hope it's not just me. I hope I'm not the only one that just is over here in the corner who doesn't love himself sometimes. I don't wish this on anybody, but if you're feeling that way, try some of these things. Try to, put some attention into yourself. Love yourself more. Give yourself some compassion. Exercise. Get your energy together. Reach out to people. Spend time with people and socialize. Do the things that bring you happiness and joy. And you'll start to see your vibration of self-love raise. It'll get higher and higher and higher. So this is just something that I wanted to revisit again. I know it's something that a lot of people struggle with, and we need more love in the world. We look at social media, we look at what's happening in the world, and we see a lot of negativity. And for many of us, we think that that's all that exists in the world. But there's lots of love in the world. There's lots of great people in the world. There's lots of really amazing things that happen in the world, and we have to start with ourselves. We have to amplify ourselves and love ourselves so that we can love more people and spread more love into the world. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you're watching here on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or another platform, thank you so much for listening. And if you love this, please make sure that you like and subscribe here on YouTube or on the podcast platforms so you get notified every time we drop a new episode. So that is it. I appreciate you being my co-host on this episode. Make sure that you check out this next episode. I will catch you in the next episode. All right? Take care.